We are excited to introduce you to a new lineup here at Cutlery and More by Town Cutler. And what's incredible about their knives is not only are they absolutely stellar to work with, but they are made right here in the United States. We are now carrying a variety of their knives, from the traditional Nakiri, chef's knives, fillet knives, to some of their more unique styles like this slicer and chopper. What's up, y'all? I'm Chef Brandon with Cutlery and More, and I have been using Town Cutler knives for about 6 months now. So in this video, I'm gonna share my experience with these absolutely fantastic knives, describe the different features of the 4 different lines that I have here, and then I'm going to put these knives in action so that you can then decide which one, or maybe 2, will eventually end up in your knife kit. First up, let's talk about these 2 Nakiri knives. Now, I do a lot of veg prep at home, and that is exactly what Nakiri knives were designed for. In fact, in Japanese, Nakiri translates to vegetable cutter or leaf cutter, and it's basically like a smaller Chinese cleaver, and they are known for their rectangular shaped blade that has a very flat tip with a slight curvature at the tip of the edge of the knife. Nakiri knives are excellent for tap chopping, push chopping, slicing, rock chopping, and mincing, and smashing things like garlic. Basically, these are all-purpose knives when it comes to any type of fruit and vegetable preparation. Of the 2 Nakiri knives I have from Town Cutler, the Baja series here has more of a traditional Japanese feel, where it's going to be a little bit more blade heavy with a really narrow and thin but grippy handle. Now, the carbon pommel, on the other hand, this is more of that Western or German style type of feel. It's about 1.5 ounces heavier than the Baja, and the handle has some amazing curves to it, including the pommel here that sticks out, and it just, gosh, it's just a great kind of a hybrid of, let's say that you have always wanted a Nakiri, but you prefer that heavier German style Western blade. Basically, this knife would be the best of both worlds. As you can see, both of the blades are 7 inches and they are near identical in shape. Really, the difference between the 2, like I mentioned, is that 1.5 ounces extra in weight, as well as the bounce. For a perfectly balanced grip with this Nakiri, the Baja, you're gonna choke up just a little bit on the base of the blade. But as you can see here with the carbon pommel, this is basically right at the base of the blade at the bolster. And keep in mind that knives don't have to be perfectly balanced in the middle. It's really all about personal preference and what you're using the knife for. Now, the carbon pommel Nakiri has a carbon steel blade with a stone wash finish that develops a patina after even the first use. And you can actually see here on my knife where I use most of the blade, kind of like here up, a lot of onion chopping there, and then a lot of use of this tip here upward on an angle. The other side as well. What I love about knives that develop any type of patina is that they are ever changing in their character. It's just a really cool thing you get to see over time as you put your knife to work. Now, keep in mind that since this is made from carbon steel, you will need to wash and dry this knife immediately after every single use so you don't develop any type of rust spots, which is basically the same type of TLC that every carbon steel knife requires. Now, the handle here is black burlap micarta, which is a unique composite of natural fibers and epoxy that is formed under heat and pressure, making these handles incredibly, incredibly durable. The handle also has a pretty substantial belly to it. So for people with larger hands, this just fills the void that some knives leave. It's got a really bold, robust grip. Again, it is that perfect hybrid knife where you're getting a beautiful Japanese style blade, but with that more grippy, bolder Western style handle. And something to pay attention to would be pretty much all of the handles aside from the Baja here that Town Cutler makes are very unique. Just the grip, the overall flow, the curves that they have, really cool handles. Like the carbon pommel, the Baja Nakiri is also 7 inches. It's made with Nitro-V stainless steel, which is incredibly lightweight. It's narrow, it's sharpened to a beautiful edge and makes it great for precision work. The handle is described as a Mexican blanket that is also made from the same micarta material, and that combined with the Nitro-V stainless steel makes this an incredibly lightweight knife that is really easy to maintain. Next up, we have the Exo Blue 10-inch slicer. Now, all of the Exo Blue knives are made with Nitro-V stainless steel that have what's called a Cerakote finish. So not only is the blade lightweight and incredibly easy to maintain because it's the Nitro-V stainless steel, it makes it even easier to clean and maintain because of that Cerakote finish. In fact, you could say prep for quite some time, leave this on your cutting board, walk away, go make dinner, go have dinner, come back, and you've got a dirty knife that is going to clean up in no time. So this finish combined with the Nitro-V steel, again, really easy to clean, really easy to maintain. You're going to have this knife forever. Like the other knives, the handle is full tang, made with the same micarta finish, but with a blue linen micarta. And like the carbon pommel, as well as the next knife I'm going to show you, you get some really awesome and unique curves to the shape of the handle. And what I really like about the handle is not only is the curvature going to make it grippy, but the material itself is also really grippy. So if you're working with raw proteins, which you can definitely use this knife for, and your hand gets wet, you don't have to worry about sliding out and potentially cutting yourself. I've used this knife to prep and trim pork loin, brisket, eye of round, break down a whole chicken. So it's really good with raw proteins, but it's also a slicer. So when it comes to getting really thin slices of meat, this is fantastic. Okay, folks, last but not least, this is the 7.5-inch Desert Dawn chopper, which is also made from the same Nitro-V stainless steel. And this has a live edge Buckeye Burl handle that is set in a black midnight resin. The handle is also full tang, and of all the knives, this definitely has some of the curviest of curves. Again, it makes it very grippy, but especially right at the pommel here or at the butt of the knife, it's just, this is a really unique and really cool knife. If I had to describe this knife to someone who hasn't seen it yet, I would say it's basically like a tall bunka, as in tall with the blade going this way, or imagine a Chinese cleaver that was sliced down to be given a reverse tanto tip. At a glance, this may seem like a bulky knife, but I gotta tell you, this is one of the most nimble knives I've ever used, especially considering the size of the blade. Now, speaking of the tip, this tip is unreal. It's at such a crazy angle, similar to bunkas, if not maybe even more of an angle because of the height of the blade. It just makes it excellent for precision cuts. And so basically, if you're a fan of Chinese cleavers or bunkas, then I would definitely recommend this knife. It is kind of the best of both worlds. Like a bunka, this knife is excellent for tap and push chopping, as well as slicing, tip work, as I mentioned, and even being able to smash garlic because of the height of the blade. Okay, let's get these knives to work. I've got a variety of ingredients that I need to prep for dinner tonight, so let's just dive right in and get started with the tap chop. I've got the chopper out here already, so let's get right into it. Using the tip of the chopper is, I would say, what makes this the most unique out of, well, many knives. And the reason why is because you have a lot less surface area at the tip of the knife. So if you like tap chopping and you want to be able to move quickly, since there is less surface area once it gets into the product, that means you have less friction and you can just get into just this beautiful flow, and you can be incredibly precise and fine with your tap chopping with this chopper. Either one of the Nakiris will also do great at tap chopping. One of the things that's awesome about the Nakiri, you could do this a little bit with the chopper, but the Nakiri, because of the straight tip here, makes it even easier. And that is when you need to scoop product off your cutting board to transport it into your mise en place container, right into a bowl for your recipe, or into your pan to start cooking with. And the carbon pommel, any one of these, aside from the slicer, are excellent for tap chopping. Actually, you know what? Since I got it here, we might as well. If you're out and you're prepping and you just need a knife quick, let's see what happens. Okay, next up we're gonna do the push chop, which is where you're basically coming in and pushing into the product at an angle and finishing it with a slice. That is the Baja, good to go. We've got the carbon pommel. And the chopper. All right, now let's do the rock chop, which is going to be best to use the Nakiri knives for. The rock chop is where you keep the tip of the knife on the cutting board at all times, and then you do a circular motion with your wrist while going forward and back. That is your rock chop. Nakiri knives, for the most part, are perfect for this type of cutting technique because of the nice curvature at the tip of the blade. Carbon pommel is perfect for that. The Baja Nakiri. Now, if you're really interested in the chopper, it can do the push chop. The only thing you got to be mindful of is that the tip of the knife doesn't dig into the cutting board, which is very common for bunkas or even a Giotto with a Karitsuke tip or a K-tip. So yes, it can, but when it comes to this style of blade, you're ideally using this for tap, push, and slicing. Let's smash up some garlic here. Here's the carbon pommel, which is perfect for this. Here's the Baja. And because of the height of the chopper, you can also use this as well. You just want to aim it back closer to the base of the blade. Now, when it comes to mincing, basically any knife that is good for rock chopping is also great for mincing, and that is where you are pinching the base of the blade, the tip of the top of the spine, and you are either doing a seesaw type of effect or a bounce and pivot. Again, any knife that can go like this is going to be good at doing that. Now, when it comes to mincing any type of product, especially something that's really sticky like garlic, you don't want to just go right into it and just start, basically taking this big chunk and blasting away at it. So what I recommend doing first would be to do a tap chop or even a rock chop and get really thin pieces of garlic, and then you can go into your mince. But something that I absolutely love about the tip of the chopper here is being able to get incredibly fine slivers of garlic. When it comes to slicing, any one of these knives will do the trick. Of course, the slicer is fantastic at it. And with this knife, you never have to worry about anything sticking to the blade because of how narrow it is. The product is just going to fall right off. Let's prep some cucumbers for a salad. I said earlier that this knife at a glance seems a bit bulky, but it's incredibly nimble. So if you want to fillet out the seeds of some cucumber here, you can see this is just really easy to work with. Now, if you want to use the tip here to slice these into thinner pieces, you can see that they basically stay right in place because of that very thin tip. And then you can come in here and go into a push or a tap chop. Let's say you're making a tzatziki and you need your cucumbers in there. This will be totally fine to add in without having to crush your cucumbers. Now that I have a bit more product here, a little bit higher off the cutting board, that's where it's great to do the push chop. With the rock chop, with the Nakiri here, you want to have some nice thin slices of celery for a tuna salad or a chicken salad. Or you can go right into a tap chop. And finally, we are going to put the Exo Blue slicer to work, doing exactly what it was designed for, which is working with proteins. Now, when it comes to chicken prep, the Exo Blue has been a game changer. My wife and I like to do a lot of chicken dishes that are just really quick to cook, generally a saute. So I like slicing the chicken into really thin pieces so they cook fast, and then it works for tacos, salads, stir fry, you name it. It's just really simple. One of the things that I found over the years is with chicken prep is that sometimes it loves to stick to the side of the blade. So what I found is that when using the slicer on a really, really wet protein like chicken, that if I'm sticking to the tip and I have a little bit of an upward angle instead of flat like this, that the chicken doesn't stick to the side of the blade, it doesn't build up on there, which makes it safer, it makes it faster. And then if you do see a piece stick, the next time I come around for the following slice, it generally gets pushed off. This blade is also excellent for just trimming up the fat off of chicken. If you need to get under silver skin. Again, when it comes to protein prep, this is a fantastic knife. That's a lot of chicken and it took no time at all. This is just an incredibly efficient knife when it comes to working with slicing raw protein. Okay, folks, there you have it. You got to see 4 different lines from Town Cutler. We've got the Exo Blue, the Desert Dawn, the Carbon Pommel, as well as the Baja. You can check out the full lineup of Town Cutler knives at cutleryandmore.com. Now keep in mind, we're only going to have limited stock since their knives are made in small batches, but if we do run out, that means that you love them. So we will definitely get more in stock and let you know when they hit the shop page. I'm Chef Brandon with Cutlery and More, and these are Town Cutler knives. Thanks for tuning in.